My name is Kathy Valdez. In the fall of 1996, I was anticipating a fun-filled trip to Cancun, Mexico. 6 women were traveling together to this party place I had heard so much about but to which I had never been. I was so looking forward to this trip, as I was in need of some unwinding stress relief and plain old fun after a year-long divorce battle. I was rooming with a very good friend of mine, more like a sister to me, so I knew the laughter was going to be genuine and non-stop. We spent time on the beautiful beaches, visited restaurants and bars, danced, laughed, and shook up the place a bit. Memories were created on that trip for all of us. For me, there was an experience that would forever change my life. The impact of this experience would not make its true realization until many years later, and it is not known if the entire power of this experience has settled in. Check back with me in a few years. I have been known to be the adventurous type. Not dangerous, just adventurous. I've ridden every ride in an amusement park, been able to get people on the highest, fastest roller coasters even after they swore they would not do it. I was eager to go parasailing when others thought I was crazy, been far out in the ocean on a jet ski without reverence to running out of gas or remembering how to get back to shore, looked for the fastest and highest water slides to come down, and anything else I had the opportunity to do. If I didn't have the chance up until then, I put it in my mental notes of to-do. So when I suggested we all go on a banana boat ride, it really was of no surprise to me anyway. I had been on one before and had the time of my life. I laughed so hard and everyone with me had a blast. We got to see the far-out waves of the ocean, great views of the beach, and got wet at the same time. It was a fond memory, so why not share that with these girls? 4 of the girls had absolutely no interest. They wanted to soak up the sun on the beach, talk and drink, go through magazines, all while looking put together and beautiful. That was all fine and good, but I was looking for some adventure, nothing crazy, just low-key fun. Under the water, I was upright, and there was no panic or fear. Arms outstretched, protected and loved. I was able to open my eyes under the water and see clearly. Beautiful colors, a brightness of white light and a knowing, all intertwined like fabric. A love, like the lap of the waves above me on the surface of the ocean, wrapped all around me and through me. Just then, 2 hands grabbed my waist from behind, picked me up and threw me. This is the best way I've been able to explain this. Over and over again, picked up and tossed forward, picked up and tossed forward, until I found myself feeling the sand of the beach below me. As I, on hands and knees, moved onto the beach, I saw the man that was thin and toned, with long hair and the off-white wrap about his waist, just off to my left coming out of the water. Just then, my friend grabbed me and pulled me up. We were shaking, exhausted, full of sand and stunned. I asked her to go get the man that helped me, but she told me she saw no one help me. It was just me coming up out of the water, alone. There was no one on the beach with such a description. Feeling as if I had just gone through an entire 24-hour period in what may have been minutes, I leaned forward to touch the sand again, to feel the safety of land. We made our way back up the beach where our friends were relaxing on their beach chairs. We must have looked as if we were drug along the beach by our hair, by their expressions. We tried to describe what had happened, but they thought we were playing a joke. We went off to the pool to try to clean off, but I could not put my head under the water. I struggled to put my head under the shower head and close my eyes. Not wanting to be the downer of the party, I did my best to carry on and put this experience behind me. It followed me home both mentally and physically. The physical part was taken care of by seeing a doctor once symptoms of drinking and way too much salt water presented itself. From my feet upward, my body expanded and my skin stretched. The mental part never slipped far away. There was so much I could not explain with evidence that I did not dare speak of that part, as I certainly did not want to be cast out, so to say. I was sure it would be made into my imagination, like a dream. The words from my vocabulary, or based on a dictionary, are not sufficient to relay the power behind this experience, but I am sharing this with you in the best way I know how, as my gift. This was not the first time I had experienced the knowing, or receiving an answer with no words or from someone's moving lips, somewhere between where my soul was before I was born and being born. I can't give you the exact place or space in or out of time, or I would. I can recall this knowing feeling and the message I received. A porcelain face with crystal clear blue eyes looking over me in what I can only describe as me, possibly, in my bassinet or before I entered as a body. A knowing in words came into my tiny being. but no words were spoken, and no movement or parting of her lips. I remember the words, "You are safe, loved, and everything is perfect." There was no fear, just peace and love. Most have told me it is impossible to remember at just days old. The question that comes up is this: was I even born into this body at the time? I did not see or sense my body. As my faith has grown and developed over time, I look at my one-day experience on the beach as truly life-altering. I believe that each individual near-death experiences are shown to us in ways that we can understand at that time in our life, or at some time in our life. This explains why the experiences are not 100% exact, or some even closely related. Our souls may be here on this earth taking up residence in these bodies, though we often hear we are not a body. The thought that I had experienced an NDE never really entered my mind because I had never heard of an NDE. Then all it took was to hear those 3 words, and without picking up a book or searching on the internet, I knew what I had experienced. Then I thought, why not hold a workshop where people could come and share their own experiences, and where people could come and listen? It is about sharing for the greater good of mankind. My NDE did not have an initial impact on my life, as I struggled with my identity repeatedly. It is not until recently, over the past few years, that I truly began to go within, through my training as a life coach. I am open to any and all teachings and lessons that I can then pass on to anyone willing to learn from my time here. As we consistently hear, we are teachers and students of life. We teach and learn from each other in each and every moment. I was able to talk one of the women into going on the inflatable banana, which you sat on top of, held onto a strap in front of you, and was pulled through the ocean water by a speedboat. She was really into experiencing this. Our hotel did not have this as an option on their water sports menu, so we had to walk down the beach a ways to see where else it may be offered. Remember, this is our first visit to Cancun, and neither one of us made the distinction that the beaches outside of hotels, and even some hotels, were public. This meant anyone could set up shop to sell you stuff, or run trips not sponsored by the hotels. So there before us, we stumble upon a small booth on the beach with banana boat rides, and we are all in. Having left everything, except our bikinis and the cash to pay for the ride, with our friends on the beach, we were set to go. There was only the 2 of us. No one else had signed up for this wonderful water extravaganza. Everything in hindsight. As I glanced about the beach full of people, I took notice of a man, very tall, with long, thick hair, mulling about on the beach, almost pacing back and forth, just looking at the sand. I never saw his face, just some of his profile through his hair. He was thin but very toned, had tan skin, almost as if there were dirt rubbed in places, and wore an off-white looking wrap of a swimsuit. Just then, we received life vests to strap on, and then made our way to the water's edge, where we hoisted ourselves onto the inflatable banana and held on as the powerboat moved slowly through the choppy waves out and away from the shoreline. I don't remember noticing how strong the waves were as we walked the beach, but from this view, the waves were surprisingly large and strong. We passed our friends lying on their beach chairs as we waved and screamed to them, displaying how much fun we were having. Quickly, for some reason, the ride was just not filled with as much fun and laughter as anticipated. The bouncing and laughter was turning into concern and uncomfortable worries. Did the 2 men driving the powerboat know anything about pulling an inflatable so that the participants received the benefit of the trip? This was not fun, in the same sense I had previously experienced. Soon we got back to the area where we started out, only very, very far away from the shoreline. At this point, people on the beach looked very, very tiny. The 2 men in the powerboat came to some type of conclusion. I don't know if they planned ahead or not, and we'll never know. They untied our inflatable banana from their boat and waved at us, as if they were leaving. My friend and I were both processing what was going on and began yelling to them and asking what they were doing. All of the sudden, English was not an option. They just kept waving by and stating adios. Interesting enough, centuries ago, adios means to God. How very appropriate looking back now, on my own personal experience. So there we were for only a brief moment, looking left at the shoreline where it was sprinkled with tiny specks of people. I thought we were both looking at the shoreline, but instead, my friend was looking at the waves just on the right of us. All of a sudden she screamed, "Kathy, hold on!" The tone of her voice caught me in a place deep within my body. Just then, I turned to my right and took in the largest wave I'd ever seen, barreling in over our heads. All I know next is I found myself falling in from the sky. My life was passing before my eyes, yet not exactly in the way I perceived that phrase. It was not all in pictures. There were flashes of some images, but in a knowing and a sense of everything I had experienced in my life, all within my mind, body, and spirit simultaneously. Then I was underwater and my arms were pushing water away, away, away. I came up to the top, pushed the banana boat off my head, and swam like crazy. I was swimming and swimming, but everything looked farther and farther away. All at the same time I could see my friend so clearly, who made it to the water's edge, yelling for someone to help me. The crowded beach had emptied so quickly and she was panicking. The words, "So this is how I am going to die," continuously ran through my body. I was becoming so exhausted from all the swimming, holding my breath as the waves continued to roar over my head and push me further out and back down into the darkness of the ocean over and over again. Once I remember hearing, or knowing without words, that this was always my fear-death by drowning. I felt as if I was in the water, struggling and at the same time able to watch what was happening on the beach from above. The people that were left were looking on, but no one was moving to help. My friend was continually yelling out into the ocean waves. Then a peace entered within all the swirling panic and fear that was surrounding me. I was somewhere under the water. My best description is an acceptance of those words. So this is how I am going to die, as everything around me kept moving.